All right, thank you for staying with us. At this time, we'll talk about the unending, issues as regards local government administration in Osun State, which has taken a new dimension. You remember there has been back and forth since February, almost a year now, February 2025, about who owns the right, who has, in the eye of the law, the mandate to be administering local governments in Osun State. And of course, it's been a subject of litigations at different levels of our courts, and in which the Milords at each point have made rulings in which has been interpreted to suit purposes best known to each stakeholders, the camps of the PDP, and of course the state government at the time, and of course the APC. Fast forward, to just a few weeks ago, in which during that time the local government workers were at home, in which they said it was security reasons because of the tension that happened, the killings that happened in February. A few weeks ago, they said they were going to resume, and of course they did resume, and of course with pockets of incidents here and there. The local government fund is still a subject of litigation as well, because we learned, or the APC campus saying they have it. Many of the officers are saying they have it, and the PDP guys are saying you can't have it. There is a statutory account at local governments, and then there was allegation of improper, opening of a new account, domicile with UBA. And of course, the Osun State government went to court to have those accounts frozen. And just yesterday, or news emanated yesterday, that the Osun State government has sued that bank, United Bank of Africa, UBA, as regards this particular withholding of Osun Local Government Allocation Fund. And they have instituted a criminal action against UBA and 3 of his top executives over the alleged illegal handling of local government funds in the state. The court document revealed that on 29 December 2025, the state government filed a 31-count criminal charge before the Chief Magistrate Court of Osun State Osogbo Magisterial District against UBA PLC. His GMD, that's Group Managing Director, Mr. Oliver Alauba, the Group Legal Advisor, Mr. Billy Odun, and Deputy Managing Director, Mr. Chukwumanweke. And according to the charge sheet, the defendant are accused of conspiracy to commit a felony, specifically the alleged opening, operation, and maintenance of illegally of Osun State Local Government Council's account illegally without lawful authority. The alleged act, the prosecution stated, constitutes an offense contrary and punishable under Section 516 of the Criminal Code, Cap 34, Volume 2, Laws of Osun State of Nigeria, 2002. And the remaining 30 counts stem from alleged violations committed on or about 9 December 2025 relating to the administration of local government funds. And the offenses are there. And the state government acting on behalf of the affected local government councils contends that the alleged actions undermine the statutory framework governing local government finances and breach recently enacted laws aimed at strengthening transparency and accountability in the management of council funds. We look into other matters. Because of the program, we have a law lecturer, a lawyer here with us virtually. Dr. Lateef Alamu joins us virtually. Good morning, Doctor. Good to see you again.
Yeah, good morning, and thank you for inviting me. I'm also, glad to be here. Good morning, Nigeria, and to your viewers all over the world.
Thank you very much. And this is the latest in this series of uninteresting drama that we have been seeing as regards local government administration, the withholding of funds, the claims by political parties to be the ones having the mandate to stay at the councils, the state government position on the matter, and recently, these, filing of a case against UBA, 31-count charge. You might be abroad, but then I understand you have your nose here. You're interested in what is happening here, and you're a law legal practitioner as well. What do you make of this position of the state government to file these cases at this time?
Well, thank you so much for inviting me again. It is true that the case regarding the local government in Osun has been steeped in very deep legal and political controversies, I think since early 2025, from February, if not much earlier. And it is true that this matter has gone through different courts, and controversies, have mounted upon controversies and all of that, legal and political. Well, I think what we saw yesterday, from my own perspective, as widely reported in the media, including your own, for me is another, and I say this with all sense of responsibility, is another act of taking things, rather ridiculous, by the state government of Osun State. And I say that again with all sense of responsibility and due respect. I did make a comment somewhere yesterday where I questioned, the competencies or the quality of the kind of legal advice that the state government receives. Toward the last quarter of last year, 2025, several cases were filed in court. Some were filed in Oyo State before the High Court of Oyo State in very questionable circumstances. Questionable circumstances because those cases ought not to be taken before a High Court in Oyo State. The High Court in Oyo State lacked jurisdictions. Some of us said those things, and people went ahead to actually insulted or abuse us. But you see, eventually, what we said came to pass. The cases were eventually thrown out of the High Court, particularly after the Supreme Court's decision on the 5th of December, if I'm not wrong, 2025, which brought another finality to that case. So now, the point here is that I can't seem to really understand, the basis for this particular case before a magistrate court. Now, to start with, this is also another case about jurisdiction. The question is, does a magistrate court in Osun State have jurisdiction over banking operations or even against bank officials? Criminal charges in the context that we have seen reported in the media. Well, my answer, with due respect, is that there's no jurisdiction here. I'm telling you. So this is another case again, which makes one wonder, the quality of legal advice, as I said earlier, and the level of mediocrity that we see playing out in Osun State. But before I say much or more on this, let me clarify something. The Osun State government and the magistrate court in Osun State, have, or let me just say the magistrate in Osun State has criminal jurisdictions over anyone who has committed a crime in Osun State. And by anyone, it could also mean a company. By law, a company is an artificial person, what we call a legal person. Yes, if a company commits a crime that falls within the jurisdiction of a magistrate court in the state can pursue it, because the state has jurisdiction, or authority rather, to combat crime within jurisdiction. And of course, the UBA is a corporate entity, is a legal person or an artificial person. It has a business premises in Osun State. If that business premises commit a crime, fine and all of that.
Okay.
But you see, in this case, there is no way the state rather, can separate what the Supreme Court has decided, from this particular criminal trial. And this is where I think the magistrate court in Osun State does not have jurisdiction. This is still an issue regarding local government fund. The Supreme Court has repeatedly decided that the state government does not have jurisdiction over local government fund. It does not. So if anything arises from local government fund relating to local government fund, the only competent authority in Osun State as a complainant in a criminal case is the local government, not the State Local Government Service Commission, which is actually in this context, I would say a busybody. The State Civil Service on local government or whatever is a busybody. The state government does not have jurisdiction. As the local government in Osun State complain that anyone open accounts in their name? To the best of my knowledge, the answer is no. So the question is, why is the state government doing this? Why are they wasting public resources on frivolous cases? And I want to say this with all sense of modesty. This is one case or one other case that will go the way of the cases before it. All of the previous cases were thrown out because they were incompetent. This particular one also is not competent. You know, to start with, a criminal prosecution begins with investigation. All we had yesterday was that these officials of the bank have been dragged before a magistrate court. Were they ever invited? Were they ever investigated? Was their statement ever taken? A criminal trial does not start by anyone just filing criminal prosecution. You know, it starts with investigation. But let's say we have done that without our knowledge.
Okay.
The question is that, can you really hold a bank or even its official for simply performing its duty? Finally, on this, Section 251 places exclusive jurisdiction in the Federal High Court on matters relating to banking operations. So a Federal High Court at best, you know, should determine whether the bank has done something right or wrong in opening bank account for anyone. So, you know, in summary again, the state does not have the capacity. The state does not have what we call the locus in law. You know, the state is at best a busybody in this case. It is the local government that, okay.
Doctor, I'd like you to clarify. I mean, you've talked about jurisdiction. That may be a technicality, right, on which this case, like you said, might be, you know, discarded or thrown out. But I'd like you to clarify, is this case, are you saying it's not viable at all? That the state government cannot, you know, file these criminal charges against the bank and its officials for opening alleged state accounts? I mean, let's read this on Tribune Online. According to the charge sheet, the government filed the 31-count charge against the bank and its officials, with each count relating to alleged infractions involving opening of bank accounts for the state's 30 local government councils. Are you saying that it's there was no investigation done to ascertain whether these accounts actually exist? Are you saying that it's not a viable case at all, that the state governments cannot, you know, file these charges against the bank?
Okay, let me start this way. You see, on the matter of facts and based on public knowledge, the account exists. We are all aware, as a matter of public knowledge, that these people at the local government now, whether they are legitimate or otherwise, they are there. We are aware that these people actually opened an account with UBA. That was why the state went to court in the first place. They went to Federal High Court, they abandoned the case. They went to Osun State High Court on multiple occasions. The cases were eventually thrown out. So then they returned here. So the question again is that the Supreme Court decided on the 5th of December that the state does not have jurisdiction in any way to control how a local government federal allocation is administered or managed. So the Supreme Court, I want to quote the Supreme Court here, I mean, not verbatim, did say in that case that the only authority that can complain is the local government itself. So all of this thing that the state is doing, yes, the state does not have locus. The magistrate court in Osun State does not have locus over this case, because no matter how you look at the case, it will still go back to what the Supreme Court decided. And you cannot go before a magistrate court to review what the Supreme Court has already decided, and particularly to undertake a case that is, you know, at best reserved for the Federal Court. So yes, the state in this case is a busybody, and I say that with all sense of authority. Only the local governments can complain, and even at that, only the authority at the local government, not just anybody who is sitting at home or who is not recognized as we speak now by law, whether you like it or not, anybody can dispute it. Legitimate, okay?
All right, Doctor, I'd like to ask you again, since we're talking about technicalities and all of this, the federal government withheld...
Okay, but it's okay.
All right. Okay, let's talk about how the federal government withheld the local government's funds for such a long time, and eventually it was rumored, it was paid to some quarters and all of that. Let's talk about it with regards to what the state government is also doing in this. How do you speak to that particular issue? I mean,
in fairness to the federal government, I do not think the federal government withheld Osun State government local government fund. I think the Osun State government actually has been frustrating the federal government. One, government wanted to release a fund to those they thought or deemed, legitimate. The Osun State government went to court to block that. They went to Federal High Court to block it. They went to State High Court. They sued UBA in Oyo State. They got injunctions until those cases were thrown away. So it is not fair. The federal government actually, they also went as far as Supreme Court. Don't let us forget that. Yes, they filed an incompetent case at the Supreme Court, 2 cases. The first one, they withdrew it. The second one, which was decided on merit, the Supreme Court decided against them. They have gone everywhere. So it is not really right to say the federal government withheld Osun State. No, they did not, to the best of my knowledge and with all sense of responsibility. It is the Osun State government that has been frustrating the release of the fund. This money was deposited at the central bank. Then the central bank transferred the money to the appropriate local government account in Osun State, domiciled with UBA. Osun State government has been frustrating the release of this money, and I understand why, of course, and I don't blame them for that. They do not consider the chairmen who are there now as legitimate. That is fine. They are doing the right thing according to their rights. But the question is, are they doing it the proper way? The answer is no. What they ought to have done, and which we advised them at that time, was to have challenged the judgment of February 2025 that reinstated those local government chairmen. They failed to do that.
Which local government chairman, Dr. Misbau? Which of the local government chairmen were reinstated?
The one they refer to as yes or no. Like I said earlier, whether rightly or wrongly, whether you agree or not, the one who are recognized in law today are the yes or no chairmen.
Even until now, after the expiry of their tenure?
Their tenure was never expired. It was paused. They were elected. Yes, I say this with all sense of authority. They were elected into a 3-year tenure, which was illegally paused by the governor of Osun State. And I say illegally because the Federal High Court in Osogbo eventually set aside the removal, and the Court of Appeal subsequently affirmed that. So they were illegally removed. Now, when they were removed, their 3-year tenure was paused illegally. So when they resume again, they only resume from where they stop. They are entitled to continue their 3-year tenure. I've heard people say, there is a Supreme Court authority that says once a term has lapsed or something. That is utter nonsense with all sense of responsibility. Those cases do not apply to local government. Those cases did not decide state law. The cases were decided based on INEC, what do we call it again? Were decided based on Electoral Act 2022. Those laws did not apply to local government elections or administrations.
All right. Dr. Lateef, interesting takes here, and I take you one after the other, like 2 or 3 questions. You talked about reinstatement, and that has been the key word actually so far, because when you talk of that particular court ruling dated back to February, the word reinstatement has been a subject of controversy, and it has been opened up, by lawyers belonging to both sides. So you are saying this morning, as far as you are concerned, is the APC camp, the chairman from their end, the one they now call yes or no, that has been reinstated. One would say, can easily say that's based on interpretation. 1. Number 2, and is the issue of release of local government fund, in which you just made an interesting take that is the Osun State government that is frustrating the federal government. Many persons in Osun State don't think like that. In fact, the word on the street, of course, is a divided opinion. There are some school of thoughts that think it's the federal government that is using its party affiliation based on politics to support whatever the APC in Osun are canvassing for. And that is why they are probably been working, in the interest of whatever the prayers of the Osun APC are And in fact, the Osun State will say it is the federal government that has been frustrating, this particular issue and not having, the people enjoying the dividends of democracy because they have chosen to side, according to them, with the legal camp. Number 3, the issue of opening of accounts. There are statutory, from time immemorial, statutory accounts at different local governments, actually. So what has made the federal government or the CBN to ask the APC to open a new account while there is a running statutory account at this local government used by the yes or no chairman before they were sent packing, used by previous government, PDP, whatever P that has been there. All of a sudden, the CBN, told this local government chairman, the whatever, who cares, that's the APC camp, to open a new account. Is that right in the first place? What happened to the statutory local government? Why do they have to open a new one where the statutory local government officers have been on break, either politically motivated or not? They have not been at work. Other officers that were not known as at the time of going on break were elevated to open new accounts. Is that even right to start with?
Okay, let me start with the last one on statutory accounts. And if you recall, the basis for setting up new accounts was the first Supreme Court judgment on local government autonomy, where the Supreme Court actually decided that the local governments are entitled to receive their own fund directly. Yeah. And the CBN was actually authorized to open designated account for each local government. So I don't think it is fair to actually say the CBN just unilaterally went ahead to do that. No, the Supreme Court did that in compliance with the Supreme Court judgment. Now, the state local government joint account, which you are probably referring to, is actually a fraudulent and illegal account, at least as far as the Supreme Court judgment is concerned. So those who went ahead to open a new account, they merely comply with the order of the Supreme Court. Of course, I blame the federal government for selective, and I say this with all sense of responsibility, selective enforcement of the local government autonomies, judgment, because I expected that what we are seeing in Osun State now, whereby the local government are being paid directly or supposedly so, is seen elsewhere. Of course, I understand there are states who have complied voluntarily on their own, not quite many of them. Right. So basically, the statutory account opened by the yes or no, as they call them, is a legitimate account according to law. Really? And if some local government officials, those in Norgay, they decided to be very irresponsible by being partitioned, taking side in political conflict, by aligning with one side at the detriment of their own.
Irresponsible by choosing to stay at home due to security reasons?
No, what security? I'm from Osun State. What security? We understand the politics underlying this. It is purely partisan. Some people just decided to take side in the political conflict. The civil service or civil servant should have been left out of this. And that's my own the most unfortunate aspect of the whole thing. The Norgay, the local government chairman, the purported claim of insecurity is a ruse. Nothing about that. On the second one, on the reinstatement, I must clarify that the Court of Appeal in February 2025 did not use the word reinstatement. As you rightly noted, this has been a controversial issue. But the court, by the judgment in that case, impliedly restated the chairman. Have consistently maintained this. But when the court said their removal was illegal, by implication, the court restored them. That's what we are saying. And also on the withheld account, I want to say again that the federal government did not withhold Osun State local government allocation. Rather, it is the state government that has been frustrating the release. They have been fighting it. But quite surprisingly, somehow, as I gather also from the grapevine, this local government chairman, they've been having access, I don't know, to their allocation, sort of. Because one,
which of the camps? The APC or the PDP camp?
The yes or no, those are the only people at the local government. Like I said, legitimately or illegitimately, they are the one at the local government. And I say that with all sense of responsibility again, because people are different sides. But whether you agree with it or not,
yeah.
Pardon?
You said you'll be having access to the fund?
Yes. I am aware that they are having access to their fund now. In fact, I'm aware that they've been receiving some funds from the local government.
Is that
from
right?
The UBA.
There is a freezing order on that account. Is that even right?
No, yes, right. The cases that stopped them in the first place have been thrown away. The cases at the High Court in Osun State was withdrawn by the state government. As a matter of fact, the charge that the Osun State filed now was filed because they knew or know that they now have access to the local government fund. And I think they are having access. I say that with all sense of responsibility, based on what I know, as a matter of fact. And again, there is no case again stopping the UBA. There is no case anywhere, as I know, stopping the UBA from giving them access to the money. And the account is legitimate. The local government chairman is the chief accounting officer of local government. The same way the governor is the chief executive and chief accounting and chief everything. The same way the president of Nigeria is. You see, the Supreme Court has given us local government autonomy. Yeah. And this is what I think we must, as citizens, encourage that is implemented. Some state government, including Osun State, have been frustrating this. We must resist that. Our people at the grassroots must feel real and good governance by having direct access to their fund.
All right. It's a continuing development, actually, and trust us to be on the matter. For the exigency of your time and your schedule, we appreciate your time today. Dr. Misbau Lateef. Do enjoy the rest of your day.
And you too. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day.
Right.
Bye-bye.
And of course, it's just like I said, an ongoing conversation.
I was
interesting
to say
take.
that, if they're having access to the funding, do we know if they've been
spending
and on what? Especially for the fact that for 9 months, for that expanse of time, 11 months, for 11 months, the secretariat was vacant, bushes there, the infrastructure desolate and all of that. And what happened to the money? Those are questions we need to
And of course, he said information from the grapevine, as far as he's concerned. Trust us to be on this matter. It's about, and he made a very interesting take to say, is the Osun State government that has been frustrating the federal government.
I think that's
from the release of fund.
Yeah.
And some will say maybe it's even the federal government has been frustrating, the government and the people of Osun State from having access and of course enjoying the dividends of democracy. Actually, it's an interesting one, and we'll be on this matter. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll speak to these issues and more. Stay with us.